We want to talk about the greenback because it has hit a 5-month high, putting pressure on emerging markets. Also, potentially weighing on the S&P 500. Jameel Ahmad, his global head of currency strategy and markets research at FXTM, is joining us live from Cyprus. Welcome to the program. Great to see you there, Jameel. Talk to us about this U.S. dollar. I mean, right now we're seeing the U.S. dollar getting a bit of support as the euro, really gets pressured by what's happening in Italy.
Thank you very much for having me, firstly. This dollar story is the headline of the financial markets right now, and investors remain stunned at the turnaround in dollar fortunes over the past month. The dollar's now hit its highest level in 2018, and it's completely reversed its course from the 3-4 year lows that we were seeing just a couple of weeks back. In terms of what's driving this investor sentiment towards the dollar, it's still a bit debated, to be honest with you. We've got the US Treasury yield, the 10-year. It's advanced above 3%, and it hit 3.10% nearly just 2 days ago. This seems to have driven some sentiment towards the dollar. And also what is quite possibly helping is that central bank expectations for the Bank of England in the United Kingdom, the European Central Bank in Europe, are reduced, as in investors are no longer expecting UK interest rates to increase, nor are they expecting European interest rates to increase, whereas the Federal Reserve and the United States maintain a very consistent tone towards monetary policy that they still want to raise interest rates, and this seems to be leading investors towards the dollar. Of course, the euro is not being helped by this developing story in Italy as well.
Certainly so. And emerging market currencies, EM currencies, starting to really feel this pressure as well. A dollar story again.
Absolutely. So what we saw over the past couple of weeks was a lot of losses in currencies like the Japanese yen, the British pound, and the euro. But over the past trading week, and specifically earlier this week, we've seen the emerging market currencies, whether across Europe, Asia, even some of the currencies in Africa, such as the South African rand, they've been completely smacked by this stronger dollar, and there is a big threat out there of emerging market outflows because of this attraction towards United States assets, and these EM currencies are coming under pressure. One other factor that seems to be weighing on the sentiment of the emerging markets is this developing story in Turkey with the Turkish lira, which seems to have got out of control, and it's possible that this is reducing investor appetite towards risk. When there's less appetite towards risk, there's less attraction towards investing in emerging market currencies, and this also is not helping the sentiment.
Jameel, it's Martin Lakos from Macquarie Bank here in Sydney, and so it's great to talk to you. Do you think that, in fact, the US dollar is only just recovering to where it should have been almost 6 months ago? Because we've seen the right environment for that currency to have been higher. The economy's doing well. We've known for quite some time the US Central Bank was on a path of raising interest rates, and although there could have been speculation whether in fact the Bank of England or the ECB was going to ultimately raise rates, that hasn't come to fruition. So is it just an adjustment taking place to where the US dollar actually really should be?
It's an interesting question. If you look at the macroeconomic picture and the fundamentals, as you pointed out, the dollar was certainly oversold a month ago, and it was oversold even a couple of months before that. But if you looked at the other aspects of what investors were watching out for when it comes to US news flow, such as US political risk and the US administration and what policies President Trump might be trying to encourage, this was what was making investors very nervous towards the dollar, and it was actually limiting a lot of the buying sentiment. To sum up the question, I do think the dollar is more adequately valued now to where it should be, but it's still uncertain whether investors are looking at the fundamental picture of the macros and central bank expectations, or whether they are still monitoring President Trump in the background, and investors should still probably monitor this Korean Peninsula and what could possibly happen with the North Korean summit next month if it does take place.
Yeah. Jameel, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.